Well, welcome everybody to SETI's sixth and final presentation of this year's SETI 2024 conference. We'll definitely be sending out all the information on the conference to all the participants so that you've got details that you can share with your colleagues and watch all the recordings that have been done for all 6 sessions. But boy, do we have a treat for you today. Today, we're going to be talking about empowering communities, understanding the nonprofit sector and your role. Before we jump into that, I want to thank our sponsors, especially CIW, our title sponsor for SETI 2024, for their outstanding support, and also AMCA and ProTrain for their generous contributions. Your partnership made this event a success, and all of our sponsors, thank you for SETI 2024. A little bit of SETI housekeeping before we get started. As I mentioned, this SETI session is being recorded. Links to the PDFs of the presentation and recordings will be available to all participants. Attendees are automatically muted when joining, but you can use the Q&A box at any point in time. And again, please use that Q&A box located on the lower navigation bar for all questions, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the session. And please post to social media using our hashtag #CETI 2024. And if you haven't already joined the SETI alumni group on LinkedIn, make sure to join that so that you can continue to share best practices and connect with colleagues across the world. Boy, do we have a treat for you today. And I am honored to be the moderator and introduce our speaker, Dr. Dee Jackson. Dr. Jackson brings over 19 years of nonprofit experience, serving as a program manager, coordinator, trainer, and development strategist. She has helped individuals and organizations secure 501c3 status, develop strategic plans, and she has raised well over $1 million in funding. Dee is passionate about supporting underserved communities. She has led programs addressing mental health, homelessness, housing instability, and substance use. Her work with SOAR has helped vulnerable populations obtain Social Security disability benefits within 90 days. Dee holds degrees in sociology, public administration, and a doctorate of human services, along with a nonprofit management certificate from Duke University. Without further ado, welcome, Dr. Dee Jackson.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you all to discuss such an important topic today. I'm excited to dive right into this conversation with you. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I'm sure most of you may be thinking, what's in it for me? Or as I like to say with them, what's in it for me? Well, it's a great question, and I'd like to for you all to just give it a bit of thought. And as a matter of fact, would you just take about maybe 5 seconds, just kind of close your eyes and just think about why you're here and what's in it for you? Okay. Only you actually know the answer to this question because it's personal to each of you, and understanding your own why. It's very important when you have a general idea as to why you're here and the importance of your role. You can just pretty much better understand how you fit into a much larger picture in the workforce development, continuing education, and nonprofit sector. I know in terms of my why I am here, why I'm here for this particular conference. Part of it, big part of it, has to do with watching my mother growing up over the years, constantly opening up our home, opening up her purse, the kitchen, giving, advice, just counseling others. It just led me here, which is why I major in some of the have the background that I actually majored in. I lost my mom about 2 years ago, and it wasn't really until then that I really, really, really sat and was able to be still to really understand why it is I do what I do. So I hope that you all are able to walk away with a clearer understanding of your role and how you make a meaningful impact and empowering communities that you serve. So let's start to jump right in into the nonprofit sector and who's involved. We'll touch a bit on what is the nonprofit sector and what is the perfect purpose of the nonprofit sector and what is the structure of the nonprofit sector. The nonprofit sector is comprised of many individuals, a diverse community of people that play different roles. And this composition is of people that consist of employees, donors, board members, and volunteers. And Mike, you can, the next slide here, that's all. So again, it's important to know and understand that the nonprofit, makes up, the majority of the workforce development with 12.5 million people. So we'll move ahead and look at key takeaways. I apologize about that, Mike. Okay. Key takeaways, you're right, Mike. Which is to identify key opportunities and challenges within the nonprofit sector related to continuing education. We'll also develop collaboration and partnership strategies. In addition to explore effective workforce development and career training programs to basically enhance employment opportunities within the community. So as we move, and as I stated earlier, the nonprofit sector has about 12.5 million people, again, which makes it a major player in workforce development. So as we move forward and take a look at introducing you to the nonprofit sector, we can look at the role of the nonprofit organization. Now, Mike, that'll be the next slide, I believe. Okay, there we go. I think I got ahead of you, Mike. But as we look at the role of nonprofit organizations, we can just note that nonprofits are primarily designed for empowering the community and addressing the needs of underserved population, and also looking at growth opportunities, particularly in workforce development. Now, let's be real though, when you working for a nonprofit or either running a nonprofit organization, it's not easy. So it's no need to really sugarcoat that because these organizations do actually face internal and external challenges that can limit their ability to serve those who need them the most. Now, these challenges aren't isolated at all. They affect the entire sector. So when we look at how nonprofit organizations address unmet needs and providing services, we can start by looking at filling gaps and addressing unmet needs and providing essential services. This is where nonprofits tend to just step into a much larger role and step in where government and private sectors may fall a bit short, especially when we're talking about underserved communities. And nonprofits are able to provide crucial services such as healthcare, education, job training, housing, and mental health support. So when we're looking at the importance of workforce development, we can note that many nonprofits offer job readiness programs, skills training, and certifications, particularly in individuals that are facing barriers to employment, such as unemployment, disadvantage, or underemployment. Now, this ties directly to the mission of Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, their mission of supporting employment for all. So as we even focus even more on vulnerable populations, we can look at inclusivity, which is important and just very, very much necessary for the nonprofits to prioritize these marginalized groups. And these individuals consist of homelessness, those with disabilities, or individuals that are recently released from incarceration. Tailored programs that can be offered to help these individuals access, meaningful careers. And in addressing the vulnerable population, it's important to enlist as many key players as possible. And this would absolutely be advantageous because you do not have to do this alone. And this is where the community comes into play. Now, as we look at fostering communities, community engagement, and social change, we can look at ways of engaging the community. So, when we look at engaging community, nonprofits, that's an opportunity to bring together stakeholders to solve these local problems. This is a way of even further strengthening community ties when facing these challenges. And it's also opportunity to look at building a stronger community through partnerships where nonprofits they tend to do better, especially when they reach across the aisle, in trying to build networks and partnerships. So working alongside other organizations, businesses, and government entities, it just really creates strong community infrastructures. So partnerships with workforce development agencies such as continuing education departments and others are especially critical in improving job readiness and driving economic growth and in the underserved areas. So, in a huge part of working to foster these community engagement and social change, it spans even further over into advocacy. So, beyond even services, most nonprofits are great advocates when you look at policy and reforms policies such as job training funding, minimum wage adjustments, and access to educational resources. And by engaging in their communities and the policy makers, nonprofits can influence decisions that generally create lasting social and economic empowerment. So we can take a look, or better yet, don't overlook the importance of volunteerism. By involving volunteers and community members, nonprofit can also create workforce development systems that where everyone actually has the opportunity to play a key role. So we'll just kind of shift gears a moment and look at the current state of the nonprofit sector. Now, as we look at the challenges and opportunities, we can start by looking at funding constraints, especially given that many nonprofits depend on multiple sources of funding per way of grants and donations and government contracts, which can lead to instability in a lot of instances. Because without consistent funding, it's hard to maintain or even expand the programs that are currently in place. So, in many cases, having to cut or even combine some of these programs, we can look at the possibility of limited resources and recognize that nonprofits are working on tight budgets and limited staffing, making it tough to build capacity or even invest in technology, and or even maintain programs that are already in place. We can also look at high turnover and burnout. They are also common issues. So, as nonprofit organizations work to meet challenges of capacity building, um, there's a need for them to build leadership and strategic skills in order to thrive long term. So, without capacity building support that nonprofits need, the impact just remains pretty much limited. So, where there are limitations, there are also opportunities. So, when we look at essential opportunities, we can start with the importance of collaboration. Nonprofits generally benefit greatly by partnering with businesses, government agencies, and educational institutions. This is a way for them to pool resources and expertise, which make workforce programs more effective. When we look at technological advancements, a lot of us can get left behind if we don't stay abreast of the necessary changes. Especially given that technology opened new doors for nonprofits, from virtual training platforms to data analytics. All these are important and to the success in real time. So, with these tools, nonprofits can better serve communities and adapt quickly to changes especially since virtual training and remote learning are absolutely becoming a way of life for many. Now, the shift to virtual workforce training allows nonprofits to, just reach broader and more diverse audiences. So by providing flexible and accessible learning options. Now, if I can just circle back, but not Mike, you don't have to do anything. When I spoke about filling gaps earlier, one of the agencies, a couple of organizations that actually focus on filling gaps. One we can look at is Goodwill Industries. Goodwill Industries are generally known for, being a thrift store, but they do a lot more than that. They actually offer job training programs, career counseling, and employment opportunities services. So, and their model aligns greatly with WIOA's mission in supporting meaningful employment for all. And we can also look at another organization that actually focuses on data driven approaches, and that would be Feeding America. Feeding America is just one of the largest hunger relief organizations in the US, and their data driven approach, it kind of works to ensure that their services are responsive and effective, showing how nonprofits can use technology in real time. And this, is impactful to the community. So as we move forward and take a look at future trends, we can look at the increasing use of technology in the workforce. We're seeing a significant shift toward technology in workforce development. That's in terms of adopting tools like virtual training platforms, online certifications, and even mobile apps in making learning more flexible. In communities where the traditional in-person training may not always be feasible, no more desire. So one example of this use is through LMS, the learning management systems. These platforms help centralize training efforts, making it a lot easier to track and assess skill development across participants. Also, you have virtual and the augmented reality where healthcare industry actually uses. And with the rise of remote work and learning, virtual platforms like Zoom and even Teams, they have become indispensable. So nonprofits and continual education departments, they can harness their these technologies to deliver training, and it's both impactful and accessible, especially for the communities that we aim to serve. And when we look at skills gap in workforce, like right now, there's a clear mismatch between the skills that employers are actually looking for and the skills that workers possess. This gap is particularly prominent in digital literacy and data analysis, and even in advanced technical skills. So while technical skills are very important, soft skills such as communication, teamwork, and problem solving are also lacking across many industries. So nonprofits and continuing education departments, they're basically in a unique position to address these gaps by creating tailored programs that meet the needs of both individuals and the employers. And by partnering with businesses, we can design training programs that align directly with industry demands to basically ensure that participants are job ready. So, when we look at opportunities for growth, it's important to readily adapt to these trends. And in order to adapt and stay ahead, nonprofits and continuing education departments must remain agile and adapt to these changes, like the growing demand for digital skills or emerging fields such as green jobs and cybersecurity. You just have to you just have an advantage at this point, since a lot of your focus is already on continuing education learning. And part of that is the lifelong learning, which is crucial. We need to improve in order to provide ongoing opportunities for people to upskill. Part of upskilling, for an example, is if you have a manager who may seek to obtain advanced certification. And also, when we look at even the reskilling, these are just important areas. We can look at even formal education. If someone wants to go back to school for a different degree or taking online courses. So let's not overlook the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion as well, where programs, must focus on underserved groups such as minorities, women, and those with low income backgrounds. So when we look at all of this, these are huge gap areas that actually need to be filled. So let's kind of discuss the need a bit to improve even innovation programs and partnerships. We can note that collaboration is key when we look at building successful programs, whether it's partnering with tech companies who can offer digital literacy training, or healthcare organizations who can provide certification programs, because innovation in program delivery, whether hybrid learning models or even gamification, programs must evolve to keep participants engaged. Let's move along to discuss workforce development in the nonprofit sector. We can look at the importance of workforce development, where in terms of closing skills gap, workforce development programs, they're critical for identifying, addressing skill gaps, such as working populations who lack access to traditional education or training, allowing them to tailor programs that can meet specific local and industry needs. Um, these programs help individuals become employable in evolving fields such as healthcare, technology, and even construction, while also offering the need for soft skills development, such as communication, leadership, that are equally vital for long term success. And also, this spans over into supporting economic growth and strengthening communities, where workforce development, it doesn't just benefit the individual, it boosts the entire community. And by placing people in jobs, we contribute to local economies and reduce poverty and further foster social cohesion. So, for instance, when we help move from someone from unemployment to a stable job, we're not, again, just helping the individual, we're also supporting businesses. So we can move ahead to continuing education and highlighting its role by defining what continuing education actually looks like and the importance. And it's all about helping adults expand their knowledge and skills, and whether to advance professionally or even stay current with the changes in their field. So it can take away, it can take many forms, from workshops and online courses to certification programs. And it's often essential for having to adapt to new trends, if you will, and requirements in the workforce. And part of understanding continuing education, we need to understand why it's so critical. Keeping up with industry changes is one of the most key factors in the importance of continuing education, because it plays a key role um, in keeping professionals updated on the new trends and tools and regulations. For nonprofits, this basically means staying ahead of the shifts and in finding and funding and compliance. and the evolving needs of communities that they serve. And an example is to think about is how critical it is to develop digital fundraising skills or even to navigate updated compliance regulations. These are areas where continuing education makes all the difference. So when we even look at boosting career marketability, and expanding your skill set through continual education, it can make you more competitive in the job market. And for nonprofit professionals, developing skills in areas like management, fundraising, or program development can directly impact organizational success. So when we look further at continuing education programs for nonprofits that are relevant, we can look at nonprofit certification program. This is a program that is designed to offer training such as leadership, strategic planning, and financial management. We also can take a look at the importance of the grant writing piece. Securing resources is critical for nonprofits, and courses that focus on grant writing and fund development are it's game changers for nonprofits, because having someone trained in grant writing means you may not necessarily have to seek outside of your organization, but you do have someone in-house, and that really is important to have. And the impact of continuing education on performance and job satisfaction, we look at enhanced skills that it yields better results. So by continually learning, employees they return with fresh ideas of improving a way of improving productivity and creating innovative solutions. Job satisfaction through growth. It's not just looking at just professional development. It's just basically improving the skills, and it also boosts job satisfaction. So when staff feel supported through continuing education opportunities, they're more likely to stay engaged and take on leadership roles, and positively help shape the organizational culture. And this is very important, absolutely important to remember. Now, as we look at recruitment and retention, I'm sorry, one example, my apologies, my example of a successful partnership when you look at continuing education was the benefits of having to partner with ProTrain, where they actually the population that we served, they were able to help in expanding the resources that we already have. They offered access to academic resources and expert instructors, offered diverse programs as well, a range of courses and certifications that were tailored to the community needs, which had improved income outcomes. So that was a great example of why it's important to know to form partnerships with these other entities. And ProTrain was a great resource for the organization that I was working for at that time. So let's move a little bit into recruitment and retention of workers. Now, as we look at the current challenges in the sector, we can take a look at burnout and retirement. They're high on the list. Now, we're seeing a wave of burnout in the nonprofit sector, driven by high demand, limited resources, and emotional strain. Now, all at the same time, many experienced professionals are retiring and leaving critical gaps in expertise. So, this presents a challenge for the nonprofit sector. So recruiting new talent, um, while trying to keep existing workforce is definitely a challenge for nonprofit organizations. Competing in a tough job market, nonprofits often face difficulty competing with for-profit organizations. When it comes to salary and benefits, making it harder to attract younger professionals, for instance, who may be drawn to higher paying jobs. We know that they flexibility is a high priority for even the younger generation and working remotely. So when we look at these challenges, we can look at possible strategies for recruitment and partnering with educational institutions is a great way to start when addressing recruitment challenges by building strong relationships with these institutions. Engaging the community, we also need to think outside the box when it comes to recruitment by being more present in our local communities through career fairs, volunteer programs, and outreach efforts. We can also tap into a diverse pool of individuals. And this is a great way to engage the community and everyone involved, the underserved groups, and just bring fresh perspective into organizations. And nothing is traditional anymore. Gone are the days of traditional ways of doing anything. And examples like healthcare, you can do health fairs in the community, where you may have a health fair bus available. You may offer checking blood pressure that day. You may get vendors to donate food. It's just a way again to just ways of recruitment and retention within the community. Again, we can foster positive work environments. That's important. Retaining talent starts with leadership that values their employees and the well-being. Creating supportive and open cultures where employees feel that they are actually heard and their input is valued. It goes a long way in having to reduce burnout and increasing job satisfaction, encouraging a healthy work balance life. Professional development, as previously spoken, is a great retention tool. Another way to retain staff is through ongoing professional development, offering continuous education learning, leadership trainings, and other opportunities for skill development. So when employees see a clear path for advancement, they're more likely to stay even longer, which leads us into the importance of empowering the communities and the role of the nonprofit, continuing education and workforce development. We can look at economic growth and stability, which are crucial areas to look at, especially where skills and job training are concerned. By offering these programs that focus on in demand trades, soft skills, and technical training, and empower individuals with the skills that they need to succeed in today's job market. Supporting small business is very important. Nonprofits play a key role in supporting entrepreneurship and in small businesses. And by offering training, mentorships, and resources, it helps create jobs and sort of stimulate innovation in individuals and just fuel the economy, the local economy. And this in turn supports economic stability within our community. Um, Part of that is the educational opportunities where we look at skill development programs, where nonprofits can collaborate with workforce development agencies and continuing education departments to sort of develop educational programs that are aligned with the current job market needs. Now, these programs focus on building specialized skills that empower individuals to meet industry demands and just pursue meaningful careers. When we look at community engagement, we previously touched on this a bit, but it's important to note that nonprofit roles is basically being able to pivot in fostering community involvement where they are able to build trust and create collaborative environments. Part of that is engaging the leaders, where nonprofits can bring together local leaders the stakeholders and residents to form leadership teams that better understand and address specific community challenges. When we look at decision making involvement, engaging the community members in decision making process, it sort of helped to ensure that programs and initiatives align with the needs and the aspirations of the community. And this increases the chances of long-term success and sustainability. And when we look at solutions, we can look at strengthening communities through networking and performing partnerships, and it's highly encouraged. Nonprofits, working alongside other organizations, businesses, and government agencies to strengthen community infrastructure, advocating for policy changes. We know that's high on the list because when nonprofits, are key players in advocating for policy changes, it impacts workforce development and it can influence policymakers to prioritize um, issues that directly benefit underserved communities and create a rather lasting social change. So, with all that, it serves as a clear understanding of what your role is in the community and how that can impact. So, in conclusion, in recapping, it's important to know and recognize the vital roles of nonprofits in workforce development, as nonprofits are key players in workforce development and career training, and have a better understanding of the value of certification programs. Certifications program benefits everyone. We have individuals, employers, and the entire communities. They help to close skill gaps, boost career advancements, and strengthen the workforce. And by enhancing, these skills and support, it helps to support local economies to create a stronger and more competitive labor market. Last but not least, the power of collaboration and partnership. Collaboration is crucial for building stronger communities. So when nonprofits and continuing education departments and WIOA counselors and employers come together, the impact is amplified. These partnerships maximize resources and broaden the reach, and it sets a foundation for long term success in workforce development and continuing education. So, as we wrap up the session, let's have an impact inclusivity, where we include programs that ensure that everyone, especially underserved populations, has access to technology and education. That's mentorship in workforce development. It provides guidance and support to help individuals just achieve their full potentials. We have partnerships between nonprofits and educational institutions and community organizations to create a support system that adds value to all. Access to technology and continuing education for underserved communities, it helps to bridge the digital divide. So when we look at compassion is big, and compassion in your work and caring for others, to sustain your efforts in helping the community is necessary. And last but not least, we talk about transformation, transformative change in individual lives and the community as a whole. It happens when you put forth your best effort. So, as we close out this final note and my mantra, stand tall in your purpose, um, persevere through your adversities, empower others, but never forget to honor your own well being. Let's try to embrace your journey and just know that resilience is enduring and growing through each experience. And most of all, be unapologetically you. Um, Thank you all. I greatly appreciate you.
Dee, what an amazing impact you just made on everybody in this information. For those across the CE world that are not intersected and intertwined with nonprofits, Continuing Ed and nonprofit has done so much together, but there's so much more that can be done. And you gave a wealth of information to help us to begin to think broader and think more about the community and the partnerships that we have or could have. So again, thank you with that. And we're going to a few references there for those that need some additional information of where you can find some additional details. But let's get some questions. And in the chat, if there are questions, please add those to the chat and I will get to those. But I do have a question that had already come in, Dee, for you. So can you tell us how can a nonprofit organization effectively address the key challenges in workforce development and which strategies have successfully overcome some of these obstacles that you've seen?
I think it's important to note again that when we look at, we can look at workforce shortages where the nonprofits, definitely face these issues. So with workforce crisis, it sort of affects, the ability to provide, vital services to the community. And we can also look at the importance of nonprofits needing to emphasize their mission in all of this in order to have a societal impact when even recruiting talent and looking at competitive benefits. They can attract through flexible work arrangements, comprehensive health benefits, and opportunities for professional development. And also, agencies or organizations can benefit from sharing previous success stories to appeal to potential, employees, to their values and their emotions, and just create a positive work culture. Just creating a supportive and inclusive workplace by valuing employees and their feedback and recognition. Again, because professional development, it just enhances a lot. It's the training sessions, educational resources, and just covering, even they can cover seminar costs, things to help just harness that.
Thanks,
I
Dee.
hope I answered.
And in all your years, another question, and you've got years of experience with this. Can you share an example of a successful collaboration that had that intersection from a continuing education unit, institution, nonprofit, and maybe a business that helped to improve workforce and economic growth in a community?
Yes, and that goes back to I previously spoke about even ProTrain, where because building these relationships with these local governments or partner with universities, it benefits all parties and involved. So when you have an employer that collaborates, it helps bridge the gap between the education and industry needs, and which can lead to career pathways, skill development, and a stronger workforce readiness, and being able to know and understand when a business needs certain type of skills, then it's good to form that relationship and not just assume that you know best for these businesses, or and just offer certain things that they're not looking for. So you have to build those strong relationships and sort of do some type of assessment to assess where to better place, from a nonprofit perspective, your participants. And in some cases, these businesses offer internships or even just hire individuals that were participants with this nonprofit organization. So, more than anything, forming relationships and being transparent and allow individuals to even have small speaking sessions or meetings where they discuss things in a collaborative effort.
Excellent, Dee. Thank you. And one final question with the partnerships and those relationship building, which are so vital to this. We have continuing ed folks that are listening now and will listen to the recording of this presentation, as well as nonprofits. with the increasing demand in hybrid and lifelong learning models, how can nonprofits or continuing ed units, as they go out to talk with nonprofits, stay ahead of these trends in providing impactful and relevant training programs?
And the bottom line again, hybrid learning it's about being able to offer the opportunity where there are combining online and in-person approach. You have to make it accessible to everyone because hybrid learning, offers flexibility that most people need, and professionals can balance this with self-paced online learning, with hands-on sessions. Also, nonprofits can adopt hybrid models to provide impactful training while accommodating learners. And we look at lifelong learning as stated earlier, it's not going anywhere, and they can offer continuous learning opportunities that adapt to new technologies and foster a culture of even curiosity and growth among participants and even potential employers. So overall, as an employer, it's great to know where your employees, the areas of need or areas that they're interested in, to try to retain the employees that you have. And for the nonprofits that are offering services, it's important to know and understand your participants in order to ensure that they too receive what they need.
Thank you, Dee. And I also want to thank Dr. Jackson for taking her wealth of information that she's garnered over the years and putting that into a program for nonprofit entities, from developing boards to funding opportunities, to managing, administrating the continuing ed components. And I understand that program will be coming forth over this next year in 2025. And I just want to thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge and putting that program together that will be launched later in 2025. And that program will really help not just nonprofits, but I think it'll also create some of that partnership and relationship that you just mentioned for many of the continuing ed units across the country to be more integrated with not only their nonprofits, but with the community. So Dee, thank you so much for this presentation. I'll give you my standing ovation as well as everybody is.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank all of our SETI 2024 sponsors again, especially CIW, our title sponsor, for their outstanding support. I also want to thank AMCA and ProTrain for their generous contributions, and all of our partners and your partnerships to help make SETI 2024 a phenomenal, incredible success. I also want to put out a special message for all of those that were affected by Helene. We wish and pray that you continue to recover, and those all in the path of Milton, that you definitely are safe, secure, and anybody with families or directly impacted, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. With that, thank you for an incredible SETI 2024. We look forward to seeing you in SETI 2025. And also, again, Dr. Dee Jackson, wow factor. Appreciate everything that you do and have done, and for this presentation.
Absolutely.
With that, this locks up SETI 2024. We wish everyone best. Happy day. Thank you.
Thank you.